This week's episode is sponsored by
I was so lucky that I knew what I wanted to do at a very young age. And I was always focused on farming. My dad, he let me plant my first crop when I was 11 years old. It was mustard greens. Because I didn't have any money, he said, you have to buy the seed and the chemicals and the fertilizer, and mustard greens is kind of a simple crop to grow. And seed, if I remember correctly, was 50 cents a pound. So I went and bought 2 pounds of it and planted it and harvested it and sold it when I was 11 years old.
On this chilly South Texas day, I'm joined with Tommy Hanka, who takes versatility to a new level. So Tommy, tell us, just how versatile are you?
Hi, Michelle. Actually, we have a sod farm, and I also grow vegetables. Some of the vegetables I grow are watermelons, onions, but mainly Chinese cabbage. That's my bread and butter and what I really enjoy. We also have row crops, cotton and corn for rotation.
Chinese cabbage. Well, I love
Yes.
Chinese food, so let's go around and see just how versatile he is, guys. You likely grew up falling on this stuff, maybe picking it up during a baseball game or during school recess. It can make you itchy, give you allergies, stain your clothes, be a pain in the you-know-what to mow on a Sunday morning, yet visually provide that familiar and preliminary space to the front door. Grass. Yes, even grass has a major industry in the agricultural world, and Tommy Hanka of Hanka Sod is one of the Rio Grande Valley's largest suppliers. Tommy, this is Floritam St. Augustine grass, correct? Okay, so let's say that I wanted to plant a field full of this grass. How does one do so?
Well, the most important thing is we need to start with a clean field. So you have to get out all of the foreign weeds and grasses that you don't want, and that takes time. And then we start with the plug. We have a machine that makes plugs about like this, 4x4,
Okay.
and we'll plant it every square foot, and it'll take off. And from planting this to harvesting a solid field of Floritam is about 6 to 12 months, depending on the time of year.
And so what kind of equipment do we use to plant this plug?
We have a plugger machine,
Okay.
and it gets these slabs of grass and it chops them up into 4-inch little squares about like this.
And eventually this little plug here will form that pallet that we
That's
see.
correct. It'll grow out and we'll harvest grass.
Let's harvest grass. Well, let's go see the process.
Okay.
Tommy, I just saw the plug, but what other processes do we have in order to make our grass grow successfully?
Well, we have to fertilize and water quite a bit.
Okay.
And before harvest, what's very important is we have to pack this grass and be sure that the grass is compacted so it holds together in the slabs.
Okay.
And we do it with this roller. Believe it or not, it weighs about 17,000 pounds.
17,000 pounds.
Yes, yeah, you don't want to get your toe caught into that one.
Yeah, no thanks.
But we'll pack the grass before we harvest it,
Okay.
and it holds it together a lot better.
And so how often do you have to roll? Is it just one time after the plug has been transplanted into the ground, then we just use the roller?
That's correct. And it depends on how many times and what type of soil we're in. This farm that we're on right now is a kind of light soil, so we'll pack it 4 or 5 times right before harvest. On some of our heavier farms, we only need to pack it one time.
Okay. Tommy, I noticed that there's strips of grass left after it's been harvested. Why?
Actually, in St. Augustine, you have to leave behind some grass for it to grow again.
Okay.
So we leave these strips, which we call ribbons in the industry, and this St. Augustine grass will fill in 6 to 8 months, and we can come back and harvest it again.
So it's almost like it replenishes itself.
That's correct. After the first planting of plugs, if we just leave behind the ribbons, we can come in and harvest 1 to 2 times a year, depending on the year.
There's no need to put plugs back in the ground then after
No,
the first time.
The plug-in is a one-time deal. However, we pride ourselves in keeping good quality grass. So after about 8 to 10 years, normally the St. Augustine, it will become infected with Bermuda grass or with some weeds. So we rip it up and we start over with plugs again after we kill the field.
You learn something new every day.
Oh yes, it's fun.
Tommy, so we see these pallets of grass and how they're cut evenly. How does the harvester work?
The grass harvester, it has a blade that cuts underneath the surface about 1/2 of an inch deep. So some roots go along with it so the homeowner can plant just a slab of grass and have an instant yard.
Instant yard, I like that.
Instant
Anyone want an
yard.
instant yard?
So it's we don't like to leave too much dirt on the slabs because it'll be too heavy. But if you don't put enough dirt on it, they'll fall apart when they go to lay the sod in the yard. So these are about perfect for me. On some other farms that I have, the dirt is a lot heavier, so we don't need to make it as thick. We can get by with about half of this dirt.
So do you set a setting on the tractor for the blade to cut?
Yes, we do. Depending on the field, we'll set it on heavy ground. We'll just take a little bit of dirt with us, but on this lighter ground, this farm happens to be kind of light soil for sod, which is great because it has a great internal drainage, but we just need to water it a little more.
Speaking of drainage, do you have to irrigate all this grass or do you use a sprinkler system? How does that work?
We have 2 types of irrigation system on this farm. We have flood irrigation, and before we plant the grass, we see to it that it has a perfect plane and it's leveled perfectly so it will drain good. And then right before we harvest the sod, we want to get it a little bit moist. So we'll run a sprinkler system over this to put a little moisture in it.
Sounds easy.
Work on the ranch or farm never stops. From sunup to sunset and the hours in between, reliable machinery is essential, and our Kubota products are the solution. Whether you need a tractor, loader, mower, or utility vehicle, Amigo Power Equipment has over 45 years of experience to get you into the Kubota that's right for you. Stop by today and let us show you all the great Kubota products and why Amigo Power Equipment is the leading Kubota dealer in South Texas. Be sure to ask about our $0 down and 0% finance offers too.
So we're seeing just how versatile you are, because now we are in an onion field. What kind of onions do you grow?
Yes, Michelle, here we are in one of my onion blocks. I grow red and white onions, and I'm a firm believer in growing onions on drip irrigation. And as you can tell, on every furrow, we put down one line of drip tape. And then the drip tape, it's all connected with manifolds to the irrigation source. And the reason why we have the filters up there is because we have to filter the water, or else it'll plug up the emitters in the drip tape.
And so there are different forms of irrigation. Do you feel that drip irrigation is the most effective for onions?
On onions, I firmly believe it is, because you can control the amount of water, you don't overwater, and of course, you don't underwater either, unless you just
Yeah, that would be bad.
run out of water, which hopefully we won't.
Yeah, we never know living here in the valley, but we can hope that we don't.
It's a crapshoot.
Where did these onions go, and how difficult are they to grow?
Well, onions, they're a long crop. I mean, in South Texas, I think they're one of the more difficult crops to grow.
Why is that? Why do you think that?
Well, because it's so long. It's a long crop. It's about 6 months from seed to harvest. And you can just make a lot of mistakes in 6 months. But
I can.
yeah, amen.
And so where do they go afterwards, once they're harvested?
We'll harvest these onions by hand, and we'll take them to a packing facility, and then they'll be shipped all over the United States and Canada.
So it's all done by hand. How hard is it for you to find labor?
Wow, it's one of the very big challenges that we have. It's getting more and more difficult. But there's hope on the horizon. There are some mechanical harvesters that I think in the future will work. They don't work good right now in South Texas because we grow a short day onion, which is kind of a soft, mild tasting onion.
Okay. And that's what this is?
These are short day onions, yes.
Okay.
And but I think in the future there's some really, really good machines coming up.
And how are the insects when it comes to these onions?
We spray these onions about 3 times a week.
3 times a week, wow.
Mostly for fun, but there are definitely some insects that bother us.
On the last stop of this versatile tour, and we happen to be in the creme de la creme, your favorite,
Chinese cabbage, Napa cabbage.
Chinese cabbage. So explain to me how this is different from regular cabbage.
Well, it looks different, it tastes a little milder, and it's kind of a different clientele that eat green cabbage and Chinese cabbage. Here we are, it's kind of yellow inside. I grow the Korean type, and this will wind up in a supermarket or at a Chinese food restaurant.
So you guys at home, if you've ever gone to H-E-B or your local grocery store, you've probably seen something like this.
Yes, and
Don't cut me.
I'm not going to cut you, Michelle, I promise.
Some people want to, but no, just kidding.
But we pack these in either 50-pound cartons or 30-pound cartons, or sometimes some RPCs, which is reusable plastic containers, and they end up in the grocery store aisle.
So I noticed when they were harvesting over here, they're cutting off the bottom, right?
Yes, we cut off the butt, and we try to get a good clean cut, but not so we cut the leaves so the leaves fall off.
Oh, okay, interesting. And is there a reason why we do that?
Well, it's just how the industry prefers it, and they really like a good clean head inside with no cedar and no internal tip burn, which we don't seem to have. That's really what the industry likes, is a
That's really pretty.
solid head. Notice no cedar and no tip burn.
That's beautiful. Why is this cabbage so close to your heart?
Well, my family started raising this cabbage over 50 years ago here in Texas. And we were raised in the Houston area, but I moved out of Houston. I moved down to the Rio Grande Valley. It's a little bit too cold in the winter in Houston to raise this. So I really enjoy this, and we've built up quite a trade with Chinese cabbage.
And the seed process, is it the same as regular cabbage? What kind of seed do we use?
Actually, I have an exclusive variety that I use that I bought several years ago. And so I produce it just for myself, and we plant it here.
Well, aren't you special? I can see why it's special to your heart. Now, I know that you don't do this alone. As I always say in every episode, that farming is a family affair, whether it be with your family or your friends helping you out. You have someone here special with us today.
Yes, recently my son Zach has started back on the farm with me. And how do you like it, Zach?
It's so far, so good.
Good answer when your dad asks you that. What is your role here? How do you help your dad in his everyday operation?
A jack of all trades, wherever he needs me, whether it's delivering trailers or helping out in the field today, just wherever I can fit in and wherever I can help.
And how important is farming to you and to be able to help your dad?
It's close to my heart as well. I grew up around the farm and I've always enjoyed it, and it's something that I've always enjoyed.
Agriculture isn't just a job, it's a lifestyle. It's a passion. It's either part of who you are or it isn't. You pour your time, blood, and sweat into your land and livestock. Nobody understands that grit more than we do. If there comes a time when you need a helping hand, we stand ready. Local, loyal, and here for the long haul.
Internet is more than just uploads and downloads. It's about connecting people. VTX1 Companies is here for you, bringing communities closer together. VTX1 has connected customers for almost 70 years. Our internet service spans across South Texas to some of the most remote areas. Faster wireless service is now available in Palmview, Alton, West Laco, and Pharr. Call 1-800-446-2031 or visit vtx1.net to find out more.
Harvest. After it's done harvesting, it comes into a box.
Yes.
This box seems a little special because it has your name on it, but I think it holds much more importance than that.
Yes, it does. I had the box company make this box for me. I'm real proud of it. It's a little thicker and heavier duty than my competitor's box.
It is heavy.
It doesn't seem to crush.
Wow, it's really heavy, guys, at home.
It doesn't seem to crush as easily as a cheaper box.
Or bin.
Or bin.
Yeah,
that's
awesome. That is a great box.
Because this Chinese cabbage, it has to go on a truck sometimes for 3 or 4 days before it gets to its destination on the East Coast or Canada. And I really like to have a strong box.
Absolutely, to keep your vegetables fresh. So how many of these cabbages fit into a box typically?
Typically 12. Good job. Actually, you're hired.
Did I lay it right?
Yes, you did.
I've done one thing right today.
But we pack 2 layers, and normally with the butt on the towards the end.
And so where do you ship these to? Where do they go? All over the United States?
They go all over the United States and Canada.
Canada too, huh?
Yes, it's a little cold in Canada in the winter, so they cannot grow very many vegetables.
Did I do it right again?
You're doing a great job,
Great.
Michelle. Wonderful.
This
wonderful.
really is, you guys at home, I wish you could feel this. This box is really sturdy.
We just pick it up and pack it. Normally about 12 heads, and
Here you go. I'll give you the last
There we
one.
go.
How about
There
that?
you go. Perfect. Good job. It's teamwork, though. We're gonna have to cull that one, Michelle. But
Oh,
we
no,
sure
I
could
messed
use
it
2
up.
more. 1 more.
And so whenever these are being shipped to their destination, do they need to be refrigerated?
Absolutely. From here, they'll go into a cooler. They will be cooled and then loaded on refrigerated trucks to be shipped to their destination.
So they have to be refrigerated.
Absolutely. So, yes, ma'am. Keep refrigerated.
It
In
says
big
it on
letters.
the box. Maybe if I read, I could have answered my own question.
You're doing good, Michelle.
I'll let you know. I'm just not talented in this area.
Well, it's years of experience, I can assure you.
And then it goes on the truck, and off we go.
Off we go.
What's the demand like for this Napa?
Well, it varies, you know, from year to year. It depends on, there's production in Florida, California, Mexico, and it depends on how other people's crops are doing as far as the demand. But it's been good, it's been consistent. I've cultivated through to some good buyers and good relationships.
What is it like to grow this crop? Is it as simple as growing onion? Oh, I don't want to say simple because growing onions is definitely not simple, but how labor intensive is it to grow this crop?
Well, it's extremely labor intensive. We transplant every single plant. So each one of these plants, someone has physically put it in the ground. And then of course we harvest each one by hand. And but it's a relatively fast crop. It's 80 days roughly.
80 days. And what is it? You said earlier that it doesn't like cool weather, so it's more of a warm weather crop?
No, it does not like
Cold.
cold weather,
Okay.
like below freezing. But it'll handle it down to about 28 degrees normally, but if it gets less than 28 degrees, we're going to have some problems.
And what kind of insects like this kind of Napa?
Every
All of
single
them?
insect there is. Yeah, we're on a rigorous spray program, and a lot of people they have entomologists, and I have some consultants that help me out, but we're on a schedule on our insect program.
Well, I think you're doing a good job because it's a beautiful crop, and you guys at home, I really wish you could see the size. I mean, TV just doesn't do the size of this justice. So it looks like Tommy's doing a really good job, and kind of hungry now.
It tastes great.
All right, this definitely is not Napa cabbage. This is
Bok Choy.
Bok Choy. And what is Bok Choy?
Bok Choy is a Chinese celery, is what it is, and it complements the Napa harvest. We grow a lot of this. It's a delicacy in the Asian cuisine. I'm sure if you've eaten at a Chinese restaurant, you've had some bok choy.
And so with this crop, is this just as labor intensive as the Napa is?
Yes, it is, Michelle. It's a lot of work. We hand harvest everything and hand pack everything, and then when it'll leave here just like the Napa, and it'll go to the cooler and to be pre-cooled and then loaded on a truck.
You guys at home want to see? This is actually really big. It's beautiful. And does this crop like cold weather?
Yes, it does. Cold temperatures, cold nights. I think it grows ideally in 40 to 60 degree weather, and which sometimes in the winter we have that.
And I saw when we were, or as we saw, whenever they were harvesting the Napa, they cut off the butt area. Do they do the same thing when they take
Yes,
this off?
this is harvested almost identical. We cut it right above the ground, so no dirt gets in there, or not too much dirt. And but we still recommend washing all the vegetables.
And so as we cut the cabbage in the middle, that's the part we eat. You know, here, is this the stalk, just like celery? This is what we eat?
Exactly. We'll eat 100% of this, except just the butt here.
Right, you don't eat. So even the leaves we eat on this one?
Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing. I never knew that. So can I just bite it right now?
Yes, you can.
I won't.
Very high in fiber, and it's very nutritious. Bok choy is one of the superfoods
Okay. Did not know that.
that we tout so much these days.
What makes your operation different from anyone else's?
Well, one thing that I really strive for is consistency. And we only pack #1 quality, and we have a consistent supply from the beginning of December until April.
That's insane. So you told me earlier when we were talking off the camera that you plant every week?
That's correct. Yeah, and any week we'll be planting, of course cultivating and growing the crops as they grow, and of course harvesting.
You don't like to sit still, do you?
No, my guys. I owe it all to the guys at work. It's not me.
Right, I always say that, you know, your employees are your family, pretty much.
Absolutely.
Speaking of family, let's take it back to when we were talking about when you were younger. You said that you had mustard greens. Did your dad or grandfather, did they farm as well?
Yes, they did. My great-grandfather came over here from Bohemia, and he started farming in Houston, yeah, the Kingdom of Bohemia.
And then so your dad just kind of followed in his footsteps?
Yes, he absolutely did. They came over here as immigrants and just worked hard and had a dairy and farmed a few vegetables, and they worked hard until the day they died.
Sounds like they were just as versatile as you, having a dairy and vegetables. That's two opposite things.
I never thought about that, but I guess you're right.
Yeah, they're just as versatile as you. All right, Tommy, so let's fast forward from the past now all the way to the future. In 5 years, where do you see your operation?
Well, I'm a firm believer in the youth, and I hope the next generation can pick up where I left off and continue to provide quality product for my customers with consistency.
And versatility.
Yes.
As we always mention and find within each farmer's lives, the operation is a monumentous effort supported by dozens of people, each putting in the daily work to keep the stream flowing. The family correspondence is, of course, usually involved in the process, and keeping it in the family makes it all more special when crafting the foods to feed families just like theirs. Tommy, you take versatility to a whole new level, so much so that we didn't get to cover everything today. You are an amazing farmer, and we want to thank you for taking me and my team out, and also for feeding America.
Thank you, Michelle. We really had a good time today. You guys are welcome back anytime.
Careful what you say. We might be back all the time.
That'd be great.
We'll see you guys next time, and God bless.
This week's episode is sponsored by